Ladies and gentlemen, do you remember the last time you looked in the mirror not to check your outfit, not to adjust your tie or fix your hair, but to truly see yourself? To ask, who am I? And let me tell you something, if that question makes you uncomfortable, you're not alone. Many of us, maybe all of us, at some point, lose ourselves. But here's the hook: losing yourself is not the end of the story. It's just the beginning of a new chapter. You see, life has this funny way of pulling us in 1,000 directions. The responsibilities pile up. The world demands more. And somewhere along the way, the person we were, the dreamer, the fighter, the believer, gets buried under the weight of expectations. That's what tonight is about: digging deep, brushing off the dust, and finding the lost you. There's a unique, almost mystical power in rediscovering yourself, a power that can transform not just your life, but the lives of those around you. Too often we get caught up in the whirlwind of life, career ambitions, societal expectations, family responsibilities. The person we once were, full of dreams and untamed curiosity, gradually fades into the background, overtaken by routines and obligations. It's not that we choose to lose ourselves, it's that life has a way of pulling us away from our center inch by inch, until one day we wake up and barely recognize the person staring back at us. Rediscovery is not just about looking back at who you used to be, it's about reconnecting with your core. Who you were may not fit who you are now, but the essence, the spark that makes you unique has always been there, waiting to be reignited. That's the beauty of self-rediscovery. It's not about returning to the past, but embracing the potential of who you can be moving forward. Life is noisy. The world around us constantly bombards us with messages about who we should be, what we should do, how we should look. Social media magnifies this, showing us curated versions of other people's lives and making us question our own. In this chaos, it's easy to drift, to let external voices drown out the inner voice that has always been our guide. Rediscovery means quieting the noise, tuning in and listening to that voice again. It's a brave act because it often tells us things we've been avoiding, truths about our fears, desires, and the compromises we've made along the way. There's power in asking yourself tough questions. What makes you come alive? What did you love to do before the world told you what was acceptable? What would you chase if fear wasn't holding you back? These aren't easy questions, but they are necessary. They peel back the layers we've built up over the years, layers of doubt, conformity, and self-protection. Beneath it all is the real you, waiting to be seen and heard. Self-rediscovery requires courage. It's not comfortable to admit that you've strayed from your path. It's not easy to confront the moments where you've let fear, failure, or the expectations of others define your choices. But within that discomfort lies immense strength. When you start to face those truths, you begin to reclaim your power. You stop living reactively based on what life throws at you and start living intentionally, guided by a renewed sense of purpose. One of the most profound aspects of rediscovery is realizing that you were never truly lost. The you that you're searching for has always been there, quietly enduring the storms, patiently waiting for you to notice. It's like the roots of a tree. No matter how harsh the winds or how barren the season, the roots remain, ready to nourish new growth. This realization can be life-changing because it shifts your perspective. Instead of searching for something external to fill the void, you begin to see that everything you need is already within you. Rediscovery is not a one-time event, it's a continuous process. As we grow and evolve, so do our values, priorities, and passions. Who you are at 20th may not align with who you are at 40, and that's okay. Rediscovery is about honoring each version of yourself and integrating the lessons of the past into the present. It's about giving yourself permission to change, to let go of identities that no longer serve you, and to embrace the person you're becoming. There's immense power in this process because it leads to authenticity. When you reconnect with who you truly are, you stop seeking validation from others. You no longer need to prove your worth or fit into a mold that wasn't designed for you. Instead, you start to live from a place of confidence and clarity. This authenticity doesn't just benefit you, it inspires others. When people see you living in alignment with your truth, it gives them permission to do the same. Self-rediscovery also brings a renewed sense of joy. Think about how it feels to reconnect with an old friend you haven't seen in years. That sense of familiarity, warmth, and excitement is like that, but with yourself. You start to remember what lights you up, what makes you laugh, what fills you with a sense of wonder. You find joy in the small things again, and that joy ripples out into every aspect of your life. The power of self-rediscovery is transformative. It's not just about finding yourself, it's about reclaiming your life, your purpose, and your happiness. It's about standing tall in the face of life's challenges and saying, I know who I am and I know where I'm going. It's a journey that takes time, effort, and patience, but the rewards are immeasurable. When you rediscover yourself, you don't just find what was lost, you uncover a version of yourself that is wiser, stronger, and more aligned with the person you were always meant to be. Life has a way of bringing us to the edge. Those moments when everything feels overwhelming, when the weight of the world presses so heavily on our shoulders that we struggle to stand. These are the moments that test us, break us, and often leave us questioning everything. And in the middle of that darkness, it's easy to feel lost, as if the person we once were has vanished into the abyss. But what if I told you that the abyss isn't just a place of despair? What if it's also where transformation begins? The abyss is not unfamiliar. For some, it's the crushing heartbreak of a relationship that ended too soon. For others, it's the frustration of chasing a dream that feels just out of reach, or the quiet agony of feeling stuck in a life that seems so far removed from what you envisioned. And for many, it's the weight of mistakes, those decisions we wish we could take back, the words we wish we'd never said, the chances we let slip away. It's the moments where life feels unfair, where everything seems to fall apart, and where you wonder if you'll ever find your way again. But here's the truth. The abyss isn't just a place where we lose ourselves, it's where we can find ourselves. It's in the emptiness, the silence, and the stillness that we are forced to confront what's real. When everything is stripped away, when all the distractions are gone, what's left is the core of who we are. And while that can be terrifying, it's also incredibly powerful, because it's in these moments of vulnerability that we discover our strength. Facing the abyss means confronting pain, fear, and failure head on. It's about acknowledging the hurt without letting it define you. Too often, we try to numb the pain to distract ourselves with work, entertainment, or relationships, hoping it will go away. But the truth is, the only way out of the abyss is through it. You have to face it, to feel it, to sit with the discomfort and let it teach you what it needs to teach. And the lessons are there if you're willing to look. The abyss can show you the parts of yourself that need healing. It can reveal the patterns that keep you stuck, the fears that hold you back, and the stories you tell yourself that no longer serve you. It can shine a light on the dreams you've buried and the potential you've ignored. It can remind you of your resilience, because if you're still standing, if you're still breathing, then you've already survived more than you realize. In the darkness, there is an opportunity for growth. It's in the moments when we feel the most broken that we are closest to being remade. Just as a seed must be buried in the dirt before it can sprout, sometimes we have to face the depths to reach the heights. This isn't about ignoring the pain or pretending it's not there. It's about using it as a catalyst for change. Transformation begins with acceptance. Accept where you are, even if it's not where you want to be. Accept the mistakes, the failures, the disappointments. Because fighting against reality only keeps you stuck. When you accept the abyss, you take the first step toward moving through it. And as you move, you start to see the possibilities. You start to realize that the abyss isn't infinite, that there's a way out. And that way begins with choice. You can choose to let the darkness define you, or you can choose to let it refine you. You can let it make you bitter, or you can let it make you better. It's not an easy choice, and it's not one you make just once. Every day you have to choose to keep going, to keep growing, to keep believing that there's something better waiting for you on the other side. And there is. The abyss is not the end of the story. It's a chapter, and like all chapters, it will pass. But what comes next depends on you. It depends on your willingness to face the pain, to learn the lessons, and to take the steps, even the small ones, that lead you back to yourself. When you face the abyss, you discover what you're made of. You find a strength you didn't know you had, a clarity that comes from looking at life's hardest truths, and a determination to rise again. And when you do rise, you don't come out the same. You come out wiser, stronger, and more aligned with the person you're meant to be. So don't fear the abyss. Don't avoid it or deny it. Face it. Walk through it. And know that on the other side, there's light, there's growth, and there's a version of you that's ready to take on the world. There's a word that makes many of us uncomfortable, even though it holds the key to some of life's most profound transformations: vulnerability. For so long, we've been taught that to be vulnerable is to be weak, that showing our true emotions, our flaws, or our fears is like handing the world ammunition to hurt us. But the truth is, vulnerability is not weakness. It is, in fact, one of the greatest measures of courage. To be vulnerable is to be human. It is to acknowledge that we are not perfect, that we don't have all the answers, and that sometimes we fall short. It's easy to put on a brave face, to build walls and wear masks that project strength. But those walls don't protect us, they imprison us. They keep us from forming real connections, from growing, and from truly living. Because at its core, life is messy, unpredictable, and imperfect. To embrace vulnerability is to embrace life itself. Being vulnerable starts with being honest with ourselves and with others. It's about saying, this is who I am, scars and all. It's about admitting when we're scared, when we're hurting, or when we've made a mistake. It's not about oversharing or seeking pity. It's about showing up as our authentic selves without the need to pretend. And yes, that can feel terrifying. What if people judge us? What if they reject us? These fears are real, but they are not as powerful as the freedom that comes from living in truth. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we open the door to growth. Think about it, growth doesn't happen in comfort zones. It happens when we step into the unknown, we try something new, when we take risks. And every risk requires vulnerability. It requires us to say, I might fail, but I'm willing to try anyway. Failure itself is a form of vulnerability. It's the willingness to put ourselves out there knowing there's a chance we won't succeed. But in those moments of failure, we learn, we adapt, we become stronger. Vulnerability also deepens our connections with others. True connection doesn't come from pretending to be perfect, it comes from being real. When we share our struggles, our fears, and our dreams, we give others permission to do the same. It creates a space where trust can grow, where empathy can flourish, and where relationships can thrive. Think about the people you feel closest to. Chances are they're the ones who have seen you at your lowest and loved you anyway. That kind of connection is only possible when we're willing to be vulnerable. But let's be clear, vulnerability is not about exposing yourself to everyone or sharing everything with anyone who will listen. It's about being intentional. It's about knowing who has earned the right to hear your story and being discerning about when and where to let your guard down. Vulnerability without boundaries can lead to hurt, but vulnerability with boundaries leads to empowerment. One of the most powerful aspects of vulnerability is its ability to transform pain into purpose. When we allow ourselves to feel deeply, to grieve, to cry, to process our emotions, we begin to heal. Suppressing pain doesn't make it go away, it buries it, where it festers and grows. But when we confront it, when we say, I'm hurting, and that's okay, we start to take back our power. And over time, that pain can become a source of strength, a well of empathy, and even a driver of purpose. Vulnerability also invites creativity and innovation. Think about every great idea, every work of art, every leap forward in human history. They all started with someone willing to take a risk, to put their ideas out into the world, knowing there was a chance they could be ridiculed or rejected. Creativity requires vulnerability because it requires us to expose a piece of ourselves, to say, this is what I've made, and I hope it matters. Perhaps the greatest gift of vulnerability is the sense of freedom it brings. When we stop hiding, when we stop pretending, we free ourselves from the weight of trying to be someone we're not. We start to live authentically, guided by our values, our passions, and our truth. And that kind of freedom is priceless. But embracing vulnerability doesn't happen overnight. It's a journey, and it takes practice. It starts with small steps, admitting when you don't know something, asking for help when you need it, sharing a piece of your story with someone you trust. Over time, those small acts of vulnerability build confidence, and that confidence allows you to show up more fully, more authentically, and more powerfully. So let go of the idea that vulnerability is a weakness. Embrace it as a strength, as a pathway to growth, connection, and freedom. Yes, it takes courage. Yes, it requires risk, but the rewards are worth it. Because when you embrace vulnerability, you embrace yourself, the real, raw, beautiful you, and there's nothing more powerful than that. In the journey of finding yourself, two forces often work hand in hand to guide you through life's toughest challenges: faith and resilience. These two elements are not just abstract concepts, they are the lifelines that keep you moving when everything else seems to fall apart. They are the steady compass in the chaos, the unshakable foundation in a world that constantly shifts beneath your feet. To understand their power is to understand your ability to overcome, rebuild, and thrive. Faith is more than belief in something greater than yourself, it's also belief in yourself. It's the quiet voice that whispers, "You can do this," even when the louder voices around you scream doubt and discouragement. Faith is not always about certainty, it's about trust. It's trusting that even when you don't have all the answers, the next step will reveal itself. It's trusting that your life has a purpose, even if that purpose feels unclear in the moment. Faith allows you to lean into the unknown, to take risks, and to move forward despite fear. Resilience, on the other hand, is the muscle that strengthens with every challenge you face. It's the ability to get back up after life knocks you down, to keep going when the odds seem stacked against you. Resilience isn't about being unaffected by hardship, it's about adapting to it, learning from it, and emerging stronger on the other side. It's about refusing to let failure, pain, or disappointment define you. The relationship between faith and resilience is symbiotic. Faith fuels resilience by providing the hope and belief needed to endure tough times. It reminds you that there's something worth fighting for, even when the fight feels impossible. Resilience, in turn, reinforces faith by proving that you are capable of overcoming obstacles, that you are stronger than you thought, and that progress is always possible. Together, they form a cycle of strength that carries you through life's trials. In moments of darkness, faith becomes the light that guides you. When you've lost your way, it reminds you to trust the journey, even if you can't see the destination. It's easy to have faith when everything is going well, but true faith is tested in the storm. It's when the world feels heavy, when doors close, and when nothing seems to go right, that faith becomes most essential. It's in these moments that you learn to lean on it, to draw strength from it, and to let it carry you when your own strength feels insufficient. Resilience shines brightest in the face of adversity. It's in the moments when life feels like it's falling apart that you discover what you're made of. Resilience doesn't mean you won't feel pain or sadness, it means you won't let those feelings define you. It's okay to fall apart for a moment. Resilience is the decision to pick up the pieces and build something new. It's the recognition that every setback is an opportunity for a comeback and every challenge is a chance to grow. Together, faith and resilience teach you that hardship is not the end of the story. They remind you that life is not a straight line, but a series of peaks and valleys. The valleys may feel endless, but faith tells you the peak is coming, and resilience ensures you keep climbing toward it. They give you the strength to persevere, the perspective to see the bigger picture, and the courage to keep moving forward. Faith and resilience also remind you of the power of gratitude. Even in the midst of struggle, there is always something to be thankful for: a lesson learned, a small victory, a moment of kindness. Gratitude doesn't erase pain, but it shifts your focus. It reminds you that even in difficulty, life offers moments of beauty and grace. Faith helps you see those moments, and resilience helps you hold on to them as a source of strength. Another powerful aspect of faith and resilience is how they inspire others. When you choose to have faith and show resilience, you become a beacon of hope for those around you. Your strength and determination can uplift others, reminding them that they too can overcome their struggles. Faith and resilience are not just personal tools, they are a ripple effect, creating waves of positivity and inspiration in the lives of others. It's important to remember that both faith and resilience are practices. They are not traits you're simply born with, they are muscles you build over time. Every time you choose to trust the process, every time you get back up after falling, you strengthen these muscles. You become more capable, more confident, and more equipped to handle whatever life throws your way. Faith and resilience are the anchors that keep you grounded and the wings that help you rise. They remind you that while life may test you, it will never break you if you hold on to your inner strength. They show you that even in your lowest moments, there is always a way forward. And most importantly, they remind you that you are never truly lost. You are simply on a path of growth, discovery, and becoming. Letting go is one of the hardest things to do, yet it is often the most necessary step in rediscovering ourselves. It takes courage to release the things we've held on to for so long, the things we've convinced ourselves define who we are. But holding on to the past, to old pain, to limiting beliefs, or even to toxic relationships can weigh us down, preventing us from moving forward and becoming the person we're meant to be. Letting go is not about forgetting or dismissing the significance of what we've experienced. It's about freeing ourselves to live fully in the present and build a brighter future. The first step to letting go is acknowledging what no longer serves you. It might be a grudge you've held on to, a failure that haunts you, or a version of yourself that feels safe but stagnant. Often we cling to these things because they're familiar, even if they cause us pain. Change is uncomfortable, and the unknown can feel scarier than the burdens we've grown used to carrying. But growth requires that we make space, and we can't make space for new opportunities, perspectives, or relationships if we're holding tightly to what's behind us. Letting go is not about erasing the past, but reframing it. The experiences that shaped you, the good, the bad, and the heartbreaking, don't have to define you. They can be lessons, stepping stones, and sources of strength. When you choose to let go, you're not saying those experiences didn't matter. You're saying they don't get to dictate your future. You're choosing to honor them for what they taught you while releasing their hold on your heart and mind. This process takes courage because it requires vulnerability. It asks you to confront your fears, the fear of the unknown, the fear of failure, and sometimes the fear of success. It's scary to let go of a job, a relationship, or a dream that no longer aligns with who you are, because doing so means stepping into uncertainty. But uncertainty is where growth happens. It's where you discover strengths you didn't know you had, passions you never explored, and a deeper understanding of what truly matters to you. One of the most challenging aspects of letting go is dealing with people. There are times when relationships, whether they're friendships, romantic partnerships, or even family connections, become toxic or out of sync with who we are becoming. It's painful to acknowledge that someone you once cared for deeply may no longer be a positive force in your life. But holding on to relationships out of guilt, fear, or obligation doesn't serve either party. Letting go in these situations isn't about blame or anger. It's about recognizing that growth sometimes means growing apart. It's about setting boundaries and making room for connections that uplift and support you. Letting go also means forgiving yourself. Too often we are our harshest critics, replaying mistakes and missteps in our minds like a broken record. But holding on to guilt or shame only keeps us trapped in the past. Forgiveness is not about excusing your actions. It's about acknowledging your humanity and giving yourself the grace to move forward. It's about recognizing that you are a work in progress, capable of learning, evolving, and doing better. One of the most liberating truths about letting go is that it doesn't erase what's meaningful, it enhances it. When you let go of what weighs you down, you can more clearly see and appreciate what truly matters. You can focus on the relationships, goals, and values that align with your authentic self. You can invest your time and energy in the things that bring you joy and fulfillment instead of being drained by what no longer serves you. Letting go doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, and it's okay to take it one step at a time. Start small. Maybe it's decluttering your physical space, releasing items that no longer bring you joy. Or perhaps it's setting a boundary, saying no to something that doesn't feel right. Each small act of release builds momentum, making it easier to let go of the bigger things over time. The beauty of letting go is that it leads to renewal. It's like clearing out a garden that's been overrun with weeds so that new flowers can grow. When you let go, you make space for the unexpected, for opportunities and experiences that you couldn't have imagined while clinging to the old. You open yourself to the possibility of becoming someone who isn't weighed down by regret, anger, or fear, someone who is free to live fully and authentically. Letting go takes courage, but it is one of the most empowering acts of self-love you can give yourself. It's a declaration that you are worthy of a life that aligns with your truth, your values, and your dreams. And as you let go, you'll find that you're not losing anything essential. You're simply shedding what no longer fits so that you can step into the fullness of who you are meant to be. Reclaiming your power is not about dominance or control over others. It's about stepping into your authentic self and realizing the strength you've always had. It's about recognizing that no matter how far you've strayed from the person you want to be, the power to change, to grow, and to redefine your path has always been within you. Life has a way of making us feel powerless at times, whether it's through failures, heartbreaks, or simply the weight of expectations. But the truth is, the moments when we feel most powerless are often the moments when we are closest to rediscovering our strength. Reclaiming your power begins with acknowledging your worth. Too often we tie our value to external achievements, relationships, or the approval of others. We measure ourselves against impossible standards, believing that we're only as good as the validation we receive. But your worth is not up for negotiation. It is intrinsic, unshakable, and independent of anyone else's opinion. Reclaiming your power means rejecting the notion that you need to prove yourself to anyone but yourself. It's about standing tall in the knowledge that you are enough, just as you are. One of the first steps to reclaiming your power is taking responsibility for your life. This doesn't mean blaming yourself for every hardship or mistake. It means owning your choices and recognizing the role you play in shaping your reality. It's easy to fall into a victim mindset, to point fingers at circumstances or other people for the things that have gone wrong. And while there's no denying that life can be unfair, staying in that mindset keeps you stuck. Reclaiming your power means saying, I can't control everything that happens to me, but I can control how I respond to it. It's about shifting your focus from what's out of your hands to what's within your grasp. Part of reclaiming your power is setting boundaries. Too often we give away our power by saying yes when we mean no, by tolerating behavior that disrespects us, or by prioritizing others' needs over our own. Boundaries are not about shutting people out. They're about protecting your energy and ensuring that your time, attention, and love are given where they are truly valued. Setting boundaries requires courage, especially when you're used to putting others first. But every time you honor your boundaries, you reinforce the message that your well-being matters. Reclaiming your power also means silencing the inner critic. We all have that voice in our heads, the one that doubts, criticizes, and tells us we're not good enough. It's a voice born out of fear, insecurity, and past wounds, and it can be relentless. But that voice is not the truth. It's just a narrative, and like any narrative, it can be rewritten. Reclaiming your power means challenging that voice, replacing self-criticism with self-compassion, and choosing to speak to yourself with the same kindness and encouragement you would offer a friend. Another critical aspect of reclaiming your power is rediscovering your passions. When life feels overwhelming or monotonous, it's easy to lose sight of what lights you up. But your passions, whether it's art, music, learning, or helping others, are a direct connection to your authentic self. They remind you of who you are beyond your roles and responsibilities. Reclaiming your power means making time for these passions, even if it's just a few minutes a day. It's about reconnecting with what makes you feel alive and allowing that energy to fuel your journey. Reclaiming your power often requires letting go of the need for perfection. Perfectionism is a trap that keeps us chasing an unattainable ideal, leaving us feeling exhausted and inadequate. But perfection isn't power. Power is in the willingness to try, to fail, and to learn. It's in showing up as you are, flaws and all, and knowing that you are still worthy of love and success. Reclaiming your power means giving yourself permission to be imperfect and embracing the beauty of progress over perfection. Gratitude is another powerful tool in reclaiming your power. When you focus on what you have instead of what you lack, you shift your perspective. Gratitude doesn't mean ignoring challenges or pretending everything is perfect. It means recognizing the good that exists even in the midst of difficulty. Gratitude reminds you of your resilience, your resources, and the support around you. It's a way of saying, I may not have everything I want, but I have enough to keep going. Reclaiming your power is about action. It's about taking small, consistent steps toward the life you want to create. Power is not found in grand gestures or sweeping changes. It's in the daily decisions to prioritize your well-being, to pursue your goals, and to stand up for what you believe in. Every step, no matter how small, is a declaration that you are in charge of your life. Reclaiming your power is not a one-time event, it's a journey. It's a process of peeling back the layers of doubt, fear, and conditioning to reveal the strength, wisdom, and courage that have always been within you. It's about choosing every day to step into the fullest, most authentic version of yourself. And as you reclaim your power, you'll find that the life you've been searching for has been waiting for you all along.